Hello, my name is Douglas Neat. You are about to watch a sample video from my tutorial, Play It Like a Pro, Leyenda. The entire tutorial package, which is available on my website, douglasneat.com, includes 245 of these comprehensive instructional videos, which is 14 hours of video instruction and hundreds of musical examples. I cover the right-hand technique, form and structure, interpretation, and the left-hand technique, which you are about to watch. The complete tutorial is certainly for those who want to learn to play Leyenda from the ground up, but it's also for those of you who know the piece and want to improve on the difficult parts, or for those who want to build their own interpretation. No matter who you are, even if you've played Leyenda for 50 years, I guarantee you will learn something new from Play It Like a Pro, Leyenda. In the transition from measure 36 to 37, we have three options for the chord on the downbeat of measure 37. Option A, which we're looking at in this video, is this big bar chord, and it's probably the most difficult for most players. It's the option Andres Segovia published in his transcription. However, Segovia actually used a different option, the option I call option C, in his recordings and performances, and it's a lot easier to play. But option A does sound very good. It's very powerful sounding, and we're coming into it from the tremolo like that. So it's a huge chord to be able to have to grab all of a sudden. But I'll be showing you different ways to get into it. Option A1 is to simply prepare the fingers above the strings as you play the G on the 5th string to expand the hand, shoot the first finger out for the bar at the 8th fret, the little finger shoot over to the 1st string, 12th fret here, like that, and the 2nd finger shoots across to the 3rd string. And notice I have these fingers prepared really close to the strings, no more than 1/4 of an inch above the strings and right above the strings, so that I can just drop them into place for the chord change. Now, the way to practice this is to start by practicing left hand alone. Put your 3rd finger on the 5th string, because again, in context, we're coming from that 3rd finger, like that. So for the exercise left hand alone, put your 3rd finger on the 5th string, 10th fret G, and just practice placing the chord, lifting, placing, lifting like that, maintaining the spread of the fingers, the shape of the fingers, each finger no more than 1/4 of an inch above its string so that they can't miss when you land them. Notice the 3rd finger stays put. Now, the other problem with this is that you must land the fingers simultaneously. You can't land the strong fingers, these two first, and then the little finger. You'll be late. So they have to land together. Now, if it's the case that your 1st and 2nd fingers tend to land first and then the little finger follows, the way to undo that is to intentionally place the little finger first and then add the other two. Do that over and over again. Once you have the ability to do that, usually your hand will then have the ability to land the 3 fingers simultaneously. So the practice technique is whichever finger lands last, put down first, and that helps undo what the hand wants to do. So that's step 1. Then do the same exercise, both hands together. So your 3rd finger is down, play that, and then play your chord. And at first you might have to do it fairly slowly like that, but eventually going to want to do it quickly, like that. Now, don't over-practice this, because as your hand gets tired, it'll get worse and worse. So take a break, shake out the hand, just a few repetitions at a time. Now, again, what you want to be focusing on is making sure you land the fingers simultaneously and that you have the fingers prepared really close to the strings. Now, the other big problem with this is, of course, that the chord may not be clear. That's a tough chord to play clearly, very tough bar chord. If it's not clear, things to try out. One is, most common, is this rear joint on the bar that a lot of people pull down like this in their effort to get the chord clear. They'll pull down. That's the last thing you want to do. You actually want to do the opposite. Raise the back joint upwards, because when you raise the joint up, it flattens the bar across the fret. When you bend it down, that raises the middle joint off the fretboard. So raise that back joint. For pressure, for power, don't squeeze between the thumb and the bar. Those muscles are not very strong. Instead, use your arm strength. I've written some technique tips about this. You pull the guitar against your chest with both arms if you need to apply more force to the bar onto the fretboard. Do not squeeze super hard with your thumb and finger. The thumb should be a passive participant. Make sure the basics. Make sure your bar is parallel with the fret wire. Some people, because they have to reach with the little finger, the bar goes crooked on them, so the treble string side of the bar is on top of the fret and is not holding down the strings well. So make sure the bar stays parallel. Keep the thumb, the left-hand thumb, opposite the first finger, or usually between the first and second fingers, sometimes opposite the second finger. You'll have to experiment. And again, the thumb is a passive participant. And probably one of the most important things is figure out exactly where the problem is. Hold the chord down. Now, it's usually, if it's the bar's fault, it's not clear that you're hearing buzzes, it's going to be either the second string, fourth string, or the sixth string, because those are the strings the bar is holding down. The bar is not responsible for the first string, because the little finger's holding that down, the third string, second finger's holding that down, or the fifth string, your third finger's holding that down. So don't blame the bar. If you hear buzzes, make sure that you know what the problem is. Don't just automatically blame the bar. It could be one of the fingers that is buzzing, that isn't holding its string down well. So make sure you test that. Other basics are to roll the bar into the fret wire. Sometimes just the opposite works for some people, so experiment with that. Different positions of the left-hand elbow, tucking the elbow in tight to the side or winging out to the left will sometimes make a difference for some players. And also try holding the neck at different positions, more horizontally or more vertically. Sometimes that will make a big difference. So, and also allow the left-hand fingers to lean to their right, because again, in the effort to stretch to reach this high E, it makes it easier for a lot of players, including me, if I let my fingers lean towards the little finger. It helps me to reach that high E and get the chord clear. So try all of those techniques to get your bar chord clear if it's not coming out clear. The next step to practicing this transition is back to left hand alone, but approach from one note sooner, one beat sooner. So we're going to go first finger, third finger, and then place the chord. Because again, in the song, we're going first finger, third finger, and then the big chord. So left hand alone, first finger, third finger, prepare, place. First finger, third finger, prepare, place. Do that a bunch of times until you got it. And again, the same rules apply. Make sure you're placing the fingers simultaneously and that you're preparing them, each finger no more than 1/4 of an inch above its string. Then finally, practice the transition from measure 36 to 37, both hands together, incorporating the tremolo. So we're going from the F sharp to the G, preparing and landing the chord. Do that a few times. Slowly at first, that's fine, but eventually you're going to have to go for the speed bursts until you're clear like that. And if it crashes, you go back to the basics on making sure you're preparing your fingers precisely and that your bar chord technique is good. And finally, if you give it a little bit more context, the entire measure before, check how you're doing on the preparation by stopping right there before you have to play the chord to make sure everybody's prepared that you're doing everything properly. And then you're certain you're incorporating what you've been teaching your fingers, left hand alone and at slow speeds, that they're operating the same way at high speed.